We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
with global pals. It's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about
Everything Theater. Hi, gang. I'm Benita Zahn.
And I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And lots going on. And there's a new theater in town. And it's in Cambridge with a Cambridge original, a resident. He grew up there. Mike Ford, good to see
Yes.
you.
Yeah, good to see you as well. Thanks for having me on.
So, the Bridge Theater. Give us the 411.
Sure. So I am from Cambridge originally. I moved to New York City when I was 18. I've been in this city a little over 20 years living there. I started a theater company when I got there, have worked and, been involved in theater the whole time. I always kind of wanted to come back, and I grew up doing theater in Cambridge where during the spring, summer, fall, it's very idyllic, and it's a good place to just focus on art. There's very little to distract you. So I wanted to make the Bridge something similar where the focus is 100% kind of on the craft of theater and acting and writing specifically for theater, and create a space where artists could come from the city, create work, originate it from this area in a really focused environment, and then take it back in partnership to perform in the city, and also just bring plays up to this area that you're probably not going to see that often, kind of more intimate, modern work that people wouldn't know as well.
What impact, if any, did Hubbard Hall have on you growing up?
It had a huge impact in the form that it was in back then. Benji ran it as the executive director. Benji White and Kevin McGuire was the artistic director, and they were just about to start a theater company. And I was walking with a friend who was going to Hubbard Hall. I was going to Bat and Kill Books, which was a bookstore I would just kind of go in and sit on the floor and read all the books. And as I was walking there, I was like, oh, I got to use the restroom. And he was like, oh, there's one in here. So I walked in and I asked this guy in the hallway where the bathroom was. And he was like, oh, it's down at the end of the hallway. Take a left. And then he was like, but if you use it, you got to come upstairs and read something for me first. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I was only 14.
But males on stage, you want the guys.
So I went upstairs and read something for him, Benji, and this woman, Janet Scria, who was the artistic associate. And he said it was pretty terrible. And, he said there's a part with probably 2 lines. It's probably like a Watchman. Would you be interested? Do you know who Shakespeare is? And I was kind of like, yeah, I guess, and I was like, he goes, you got to be here every night. You got to be here for 4 or 5 hours, even if it's just 2 lines. Are you willing to do that? And I said, yeah, I'd be interested. I want to try it. And then he cast me as Claudio in Much Ado About Nothing. And it was a much larger role. But when I had come in to go to the bathroom, the girl who he had just decided he was going to cast as hero, I held the door for her on the way out. So we crossed paths, and it was all very serendipitous. But then I went on to do maybe, I think, 28 shows with Kevin as the director over the next 7 years until I was 18, 19. And then, I was able to do studio theater productions there. So I started a thing called the Studio Theater where I did This Is Our Youth by Kenneth Lonergan, which is more modern because they were focused on classics. I did Nocturne by Adam Rapp, which is a 98-page monologue, like a one-person show. So a huge impact. I mean, Benji, Kevin, and Janet had kind of changed the trajectory of my life walking into that building looking for a bathroom. It's still, I think, a great resource to the community. It's an arts and community center that has dance and yoga and different things. And I think, serves a purpose to the community very well. I think my thing now that I'm trying to do coming back here is kind of not related really. It's a totally separate venture, but I think it complements what's already happening in the area very well. And my hope is to draw larger crowds to this area as a destination for theater, and then put eyes on everything else that's happening in the community, and obviously put dollars into everything else that's happening in the community, and kind of see if we can grow that.
Your launch is at Fort Salem Theater.
Yeah, the launch is at Fort Salem for this first show, Constellations, which opens tomorrow and runs the next 2 weekends. And then Burn This, the show we're doing, starts pretty much immediately after. That'll be on the main stage at Fort Salem in May. And then in August, Circle Mirror Transformation by Annie Baker will be on the main stage at Fort Salem as well. And then I was just telling Ellen prior to the start, we're going to do a series of solo performances. So one-person shows, probably for shorter runs of maybe 4 to 6 performances in the new space in Cambridge. It'll be ready around the end of July, and we'll open it in November. So we're going to do The Good Thief by Connor McPherson, which is a solo show. Yeah.
What space are you taking over in?
We're taking over this building. It's 45 West Main Street in Cambridge. It's like an 1897 retail building. It's a beautiful brick building. On the outside, it has these big bay retail windows that are floor to ceiling. And we're going to build a wine bar in there. We're going to build about a 65 to 70 feet theater space. And it'll be, for the purpose of kind of 3 to 6 person plays for writing workshops, scene study classes with mentors that kind of come from the city, and everything we offer educationally will be free. So whether it's playwriting classes, scene study, we kind of want to keep it 16 and older because we want people to come in that, I think I was 14, but it was a little different. I really fell in love with it. So in case by case situations, I would see, but we want people that really want to focus on it and have a genuine interest in it. And I think, in some way I'm trying to give the experience that I had was kind of monumental. It was kind of I look back on it very fondly, but I also look back on it like, wow, it seems like a world that shouldn't be able to exist, that you shouldn't have the opportunity to have that much fun or be able to do that many plays or learn that much and experience that type of life. And I think there's probably other people who are here in these small areas and small towns that if they walked into something like that by happenstance, it could change the trajectory of their lives or their viewpoints or kind of how they feel about art, and lead them to create something really cool. So, I'd like to give that back.
Wow. And so you're in the throes of like just starting out, getting everything organized, which is a monumental task. So for other people out there who are like, I want to make my own art, I want to create my own company, what are some of your suggestions, or what have been some of the biggest hurdles you've had to jump?
I think some things just happen in the time that they're supposed to happen. And I know that probably sounds cliche, but I attempted to do this in the fall of 2024 and really had a game plan for it as a 6-week theater festival in Cambridge that would have taken place in the fall of 2025. And it shifted in a bunch of things, in that Janet Scaria, who was the artistic associate, she was like, Michael, you should do this. I think it's brilliant, but you should do it as a theater company. You should be the artistic director, and you should choose the plays, and you should, and I thought about it and kind of wrote out the whole process. And then unfortunately in the spring of last year, Janet passed away. And I said, okay, I'm going to take the time to really think this out and plan for it. So I worked, a regular kind of corporate job in New York City full time. And I said, I'm going to save and kind of get things ready and kind of put all the pieces in place ahead of time so that when I go up there, it's not just chaotic, So I would say prepare for one thing, but really understand what you want to do. Like really make sure the vision's 100% clear and that it's yours. I feel like what I'm trying to create, I do all of our social media and branding, our website, our ticketing, like all the code and everything in the background. I do all our graphic design, all of that. It looks exactly the way I want it to, like what I saw this being. The shows I've chosen are all very specific. They're chosen intentionally. I think that's the best thing. Just like know what you want. Don't let anyone else's opinion deter you from creating what you want to create. Don't try and just copy what someone else has done, because it won't feel authentic, and it probably won't you won't have the same amount of passion for it if you're just trying to imitate someone else. You have to really care about it. And I would say, I think like everyone who goes into theater, whether it's in New York City or whether it's up here, it's like just be prepared that, I'm doing it as a for profit. I didn't want to deal with a board of directors or grants being for specific shows to take place. I wanted to be able to choose everything that I wanted and do it the way I felt was right. And it's just going to be expensive, And I think as you start out, you're going to go, yeah, we don't have an audience. Nobody knows me up here after 20 years. Nobody knows what the bridge is. Most of the early patrons are going to have to be people who just love theater and are taking a leap of faith. My hope is that even in this first show, Constellations, I think it's a really beautiful play. Sarah's brilliant in it. I really think, we can hopefully reward those people that are taking that leap of faith. But yeah, I would say you just got to believe in it 100% and you really have to love it. I think I walked through that door and I felt something even standing in that room for those three people, having never done a play, having never seen a play, to that extent. It was just something that I felt. And that feeling has never gone away. That kind of care for it has never gone away. So, if you really love it, I would say just find a way to do it.
The bottom line, though, is you still have to make money, and
Yeah.
Cambridge is not around the corner. As
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I've done a lot of work with the fabulous team at Fort Salem,
Yeah.
and it's getting an audience is a challenge.
Yeah, I would agree. And I know, I don't think we've met Benita from what I know in this area before, but I've heard a lot about you and I know that like people are happy to go see you perform in theater up here and really enjoy it. And that's an audience draw. That is definitely the word of mouth thing that I've heard. So I think, yeah, you kind of have to earn it and build it. And for me, it is one of those field of dreams things. It is like, I'm going to make this space incredible. And if it's me and six people in there, well, then it's just for the love of it. I think in the making money front, um, I don't, I had a plan this year where I said I will probably do nothing but lose money, and that's going into it knowing that if that happens, that's fine. Now on the flip side of that, my hope is, yeah, we'll do better than I ever could have imagined. Like, I do think that's realistic. I do think you have to have enough confidence and belief in yourself and understand where your level of talent sits, that when people come and see it, it's going to be transformative. It's going to change their opinion maybe on what they thought theater was previously. And they're going to say, okay, this had enough of an impact on me, whether it left me with questions, whether it left me with reflection, new feelings, new thoughts. I want to see what they're going to do next. And the thing I think is, we're bringing actors and actresses who are currently on CBS TV series, currently in major independent films, to this area where they get a chance to go back to just kind of craft and focus and art and little distraction, which I think is a really, the town is idyllic. The places where we're staying in these old farmhouses and stuff for actor housing is idyllic. So that's very appealing to them to get a little focus and quiet and just back to what they truly love. And, I just think that brings something unique to the area. People should want to travel to experience that. So yeah, I mean, second season, we'll look to make money. We'll look to hopefully through the work earn a few benefactors in this area that kind of want to see that. We already have gotten a few, and I think it's obviously important to be financially stable in that situation to be able to produce the work to the level that you want. But I think I was in the theater last night and it's like in the last week, things always seem to pull themselves together, but we just decided to make a change. And it's like, we have people building a set that's like the actress, me, the director, we're like painting floors and painting flats and putting this stuff together with screw guns, and everyone's having the time of their life. And it's like, yeah, this is how I grew up. This is what I want theater to be. I want it to be kind of messy and chaotic and beautiful and let it exist as it is. And after it's done, it dies. And, I think that's the really beautiful thing about the art.
Yeah. What's some long-term goals that you have, if everything goes well, and
Yeah.
what's the ultimate goal?
I mean, I think ultimately, I signed a 4-year lease up here in this space, only under the guise that like after 4 years we could scale it to a point where the size might be usable for rehearsal, but not an actual venue. So I'd hope to move it to a larger venue in the next 3 to 4 years, and build out a larger space. That's a long-term goal or short, medium goal. I think long-term, we'd love to partner with a legitimate off-Broadway house in the city as kind of a sister theater and let new work development originate out of upstate New York and then bring it to the city to premiere it, but have its initial runs and kind of all the table reads and workshops and development be up here. Um, I think art can happen anywhere, and I think there's no restriction to like the level at which it can happen. And sometimes you'll see things that it's not the greatest performances you're going to see, it's not the greatest lighting or costumes or sets, but a group of people coming together and using the resources they have to try and make art. I really respect that and admire it. And I also think it's really beautiful when you go, man, they didn't get it perfect, but they had so much ambition to try and get there that it still was moving and it still was impactful and it still is like what you want theater to be. It's storytelling. And I think the longest term goal is just to have it be sustainable, where we can build this town into something where, we have an incredible independent bookstore in Battenkill Books that's run by, Connie. We have a co-working space, the Valley. We have independent publishers. We have retired writers and painters up here. We have this beautiful village. It's like I want to make it a genuine arts destination that could rival, early 2000s to 2010, like Williamstown, and really get people to this area in droves to come see plays that they can't see anywhere else upstate. So,
Mike, what's your all right favorite? Producing, directing, acting, banging the drum.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's strange. I didn't think I thought maybe I would be in Burn This, our second show. And then I just realized, well, this cost a lot up front. So I was like, to not have to pay another actor, I was like, I know I can play this role as well, of Roland in Constellations. And really just being on stage, it's been a couple of years since I've done a show, and I had just got sucked into kind of like a really responsible corporate job that I just hated every second of it, to be honest. But I'd been away from it, and getting back on stage is really amazing. I think when you're trying to do all of the admin roles, it's just me, and the bridge is like a one person performance as far as all this stuff goes, doing everything. I want to make sure I'm not detracting from being able to give the best performance I can give and showing up for everyone in the way I should show up to, even accommodate Sarah's performance. She's brilliant. I want to make sure I'm able to stand across from her on stage and give her everything she needs so she can get to the performance level she wants to. I think we're accomplishing that in this by just sheer luck. But I also think, I would say acting. I would say like being on stage and being in part of a cast and having that transient life where like every couple months new people come in and you share these new experiences and new relationships and build something together. I really like kind of the overflow of that as seasons go on through theater companies. I think being able to be an artistic director and choose the shows and connect the dots and be able to give actors who might not have the opportunity to perform this role anywhere else the chance to step on stage and do it. That was done for me time and time again. And I feel really grateful for it. So I think acting and then being able to offer the opportunity to be involved in art to other people is kind of my two favorite things. Yeah.
Oh, you're muted, Bina.
We're having flooring put down, so I keep turning off the mic so you don't hear the noise in the background. Where'd you come up with the name, The Bridge?
The Bridge, a lot of people think it's because it's in Cambridge, and I grew up in Cambridge. It's like, I should make it clear that none of us, no one, myself or anyone else, we've never called Cambridge The Bridge. It was this idea to bridge kind of, this is a East and West Main Street, one traffic light town. That's like a farming town. So the idea was if I can cross the bridge, to New York City, every time you enter New York, like driving into the city, you're going over a bridge into the city. And that's 9 million people condensed to like 12 miles, and every business and every shop and every piece of art and every culture. And if I can connect the dots, over the bridge back to here and have just as good of art and just as good of theater as you could ever see in New York City here, that's the hope. So it's just that bridge back and forth to kind of be able to originate work from here.
And I think that selecting an inaugural season is probably the hardest season to put together. What was the thought process of which plays you picked this year?
Well, I've been kind of intrigued by the overrun of AI in terms of writing and different things, and I like coming back to theater at a time when that's happening, because I go, this is something that will just sustain its art form and originality. It can't be replicated in that way. And it's an in-person connected experience where you sit shoulder to shoulder with people and go through these waves of emotions or laughter or whatever the case might be. And it's an experience that happens in real time. And once it's done, you can't see it again. You can't have it after that. And I really like the kind of cherished moment that creates. So with this season, it's all human connection. Constellations is two people meeting over and over in different universes. Burn This is two people who should probably never have encountered each other, but through chance they do, and they end up in this kind of changing the trajectory of each other's lives in that sense. And Circle Mirror Transformation is a bunch of people who live in the same town but don't know each other in an intimate or close way, and they end up in an acting class together in a local community theater, and they are all changed by just the acting exercises they do in front of each other. So really, human relationships impact how walking into a building to find a bathroom changes the trajectory of your life, for the next 25 years. So yeah, stuff like that. But it was just connected through human connection. I really love seeing theater as well. So it's like just that idea of sitting shoulder to shoulder, watching this story and just getting completely lost in it, and entering kind of that world. So yeah, this season was relatively easy to pick, and I may be getting ahead of myself, but I have season 2, in my back pocket already. I kind of know what I'd like to do.
And tell us a little bit about the show that opens tomorrow. A little
Yeah.
bit more
So
detail.
I have
Yeah, I see
Sarah here,
Sarah.
who's the actress in the show. So I'll bring her in.
Hi.
Yeah, this is Benita and Ellen.
Hi, Benita. Hi, Ellen.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Oh, I'm sitting on a stool. So.
Yeah. So Constellations is two people, Roland and Marianne. We see them meet in different universes over and over and over in similar scenarios, and based on the choices or decisions they make, that affects the outcome of what happens next or how their story continues together. We believe there's a through line in the story. So there is one universe that you do follow as a through line to the whole play. But there are all these other scenes. So I think, and I'll let Sarah talk about this, but I think it's a really fun play. I think it's really challenging. All of the dialogue repeats over and over and over, but then changes slightly, and there's little differences. And I think it's probably been the most challenging memorization piece I've ever had to do, just because you repeat over and over, and some of the blocking is similar, and you can be thinking in your head in rehearsals like, wait, didn't I do this scene? So it's really fun, but yeah, it's a huge challenge.
Should point out it's Sarah Diamond.
Yes.
It's full name. And the way you just described it, Mike, sounds a little Ives.
Yeah.
A little on the timing-esque.
Yes, I would agree. I think, this play is interesting. It's got a lot of humor. It's got a lot of drama as well. But I think it'll hit every audience member to reflect on, like, oh man, had I been in a relationship with someone, had I handled things differently or done one thing differently or not said such and such, maybe that would have been the course of my life. And, maybe had I been bold enough to make a change in that situation, my life would have been wildly different from what it has been. I think it's just something that lets people experience time, connection, and personal relationships in a really unique format.
Sarah, how do you convince you to come up and do this?
Oh, it was well, I reached out to Mike originally. I was on Threads, and I'm never on Threads, but he had posted that he was looking to connect with writers for the new play workshops and actors. And so I reached out to him because I saw that the program had Constellations in it, and I had worked on Constellations briefly in drama school. And so I just reached out to him and asked if there was any possibility that I could maybe audition for a show in the future. And he said, he hadn't cast the part of Marianne yet, so I was able to audition.
Yeah. And since I've been doing everything, I'm letting the universe control a lot of what's happening with the bridge and everything else. I told Sarah when I emailed her back, I said, there's been tons of people who have submitted for this role, and we saw people in New York for auditions. We hadn't cast it. And I said, you're the only person to mention the play specifically and that you actually care about it. And I said, so in the spirit of the play, send the tape and let me see your audition. But then when I saw it and I saw how good she was, I was like, yeah, you know what? You're the only person that cared about this specifically. So why not have the shot and come up here and do the play? Yeah.
And do you have any connection to upstate New York, Sarah?
Upstate, no, but I'm from Virginia, but I have been living in New York for the past couple of years. But it is beautiful here. It's a perfect place to just focus on the actual craft of acting, and without the outside distractions and without the distraction of the city.
And you've come after most of the shoveling season.
Yeah, no, she experienced a lot of snow up here during this time. Yeah,
it's been really the weather has been really.
It's been one of the worst winters in 10 years. I was like, yeah, come up. The winter's pretty mild. And then I was like, well, I take that back.
Not this one.
Yeah.
All right, so Mike, give us the 411 again.
Yeah, so, most important thing is we're a for-profit. We don't have grants or anything like that at the bridge. We don't ask for donations or any, money from the audience or anything like that, or do fundraisers. We just want people to see the plays. So the biggest thing that people can do is buy tickets to the shows. Even if you're a person who's not necessarily interested in theater, we're opening a space that'll showcase music and writers and have different events that take place there as well for those that aren't specific to theater. So Constellations opens tomorrow, the 25th. It runs through Sunday, and then the following weekend, Thursday to Sunday, closes on April 5th.
Let me jump in. And you open it. Oh, you were going there. Okay.
Yes, at Fort Salem. We're in their cabaret space, which is this. We've built it out into a black box. It's this really beautiful, intimate space. It'll seat about 55 or 60, which is perfect for a show like this. And we just hope people give the show a chance, give the theater company a chance. I think you'll see something you haven't seen in this area before. And then if you follow the season as we continue on, my hope is just to build an audience of people that really love seeing theater and love sitting in person to watch plays. And to connect with the community up here has been incredible. I think the biggest thing I would say is if you're going to start a theater company or try and venture into doing this, don't look for money. Look for what's around you, and people will share their resources. And I think the resources are way more valuable than trying to fundraise or get donations. Because really, if someone just has a house or has a space, it just helps you build and grow in that sense. And Kyle and Jared, obviously from Fort Salem, I just have to say thank you to them because they've been really open and considerate and just generous with their time and resources. And it's a huge help for us. It's really great.
Yeah, and I'll throw out that, this is such a great community, and Benita and I are on the board of the Capital Region Theater Festival, and we will be emailing you that now that you are new kids in town. We would love to get you involved as well to kind of, exactly as you're talking about, to support each other and to have resources for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think there's beautiful art that takes place up here, so everyone should see it. Yeah.
We agree. Break legs.
Thank you.
Excited.
Thanks, Benita.
Really hope to get up and see it.
Yeah, we hope so.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you for your time. This has been great. So excited.
Yeah, likewise.
It's really nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. And for our listeners, go up, check it out. Always great to have new theater. We love it. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And I'm Benita Zahn. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything, everything, everything.